In 2011, amid a revolution that toppled a president, thieves walked into the world's greatest treasure house and took what they wanted, and nobody stopped them. The official story is straightforward, almost boring in its simplicity. Security at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo collapsed during the January 2011 uprising. Protesters overwhelmed police. Guards abandoned their posts. In that vacuum, opportunistic criminals looted the building. Maybe 20, maybe 50 pieces vanished. Some were recovered. Case closed. I've read the museum director's statements myself. They paint a picture of inevitable chaos, the kind that happens when institutions crumble. But here's what bothers me about that narrative. It doesn't account for precision. The pieces that vanished weren't random. They weren't grabbed by panicked mobs. 41 artifacts disappeared, including a limestone statue of Akhenaten's daughter, gold figurines, and a ceremonial beard from Tutankhamun's funerary mask. These weren't items a frightened looter would know to take. The museum itself is a sprawling neoclassical building opened in 1902. It sits in Tahrir Square, the heart of Cairo's revolution. On January 28, 2011, security simply evaporated. By some accounts, police fired on crowds and then retreated entirely. The museum had roughly 100 staff members at the time. Most fled. A handful stayed, but they were outnumbered and unarmed. So the accepted version holds up at first. Yes, chaos reigned. Yes, security collapsed. But then you notice something else. The thieves knew exactly where to go. They bypassed entire galleries full of valuable pieces. They went straight for specific items in specific cases. That's not mob looting, that's a list. 3 men were eventually arrested in connection with the thefts. Their names don't matter as much as their profile. They had prior records for theft. One had worked as a guard elsewhere. Another was familiar with museum layouts. They had motive, they had opportunity, and they had, according to investigators, inside help. But here's where the official story starts to splinter. Early reports claimed 1,000 items were stolen. Then it was revised to hundreds, then to dozens. The numbers kept shrinking, and the pieces that were recovered, some turned up in the museum's own storage rooms. Not sold, not smuggled out of Egypt, just moved. That detail shifts everything. If pieces were already in the building, moved from one room to another, then maybe they weren't stolen at all. Maybe they were hidden. And if they were hidden, the question isn't who looted the museum during the chaos. The question becomes who moved them before the chaos started and why. I've read the testimony given by one of the arrested men. He claimed he didn't steal anything. He claimed he was told by someone inside the museum, someone in authority, where to go and what to move. He was a pawn, he said, used to create the appearance of theft during a moment when nobody was watching. Now, this could have been a convenient lie. Criminals blame others, it's standard. But the evidence started to support him. Museum employees were questioned. Some admitted to being approached by colleagues, people with access, who suggested moving certain pieces to avoid them being damaged or looted during the uprising. Let me be precise here, there's no evidence of a grand conspiracy, but there's plenty of evidence of institutional self-protection dressed up as crisis response. Museum staff, fearing the worst, may have moved pieces themselves. Then when the revolution hit, those movements got tangled up with actual looting. The narratives merged, the truth got buried. Between 2011 and 2015, most of the missing pieces came back. Some were recovered during raids, others were returned anonymously. A few were found in the museum's own vaults, catalogued wrong or shelved incorrectly. The thieves, if they were ever truly thieves, became less interesting than the institution's response to them. What actually happened wasn't a heist. It was institutional panic disguised as criminal theft. When the revolution came, the museum's leadership faced a choice: protect the collection by moving pieces or trust security systems that were already failing. They chose to move things. Some pieces were moved again by people taking advantage of the chaos. Then everyone blamed the chaos. The real story then isn't about master thieves or criminal networks. It's about how institutions fail when they are afraid. How the desire to protect something can lead to the appearance of its destruction. How chaos, real, genuine chaos, can be a perfect cover for mistakes that should have been prevented all along. The Cairo Museum still stands. The collection is mostly intact, but the 2011 theft or non-theft or miscommunication, or whatever you want to call it, revealed something uncomfortable. Priceless artifacts were safer during a revolution than they were in the hands of people trying to protect them in a panic. No charges stuck. The men arrested were eventually released or served minimal sentences. The museum issued revised inventories. The incident was officially closed. But if you dig into the logistics, the timeline, the recovered pieces that were never actually gone, the real heist wasn't the theft. It was the cover-up. And that's the story nobody wanted to tell. Subscribe for the untold stories behind history's greatest heists, where the real crime is always more intricate than the headlines.